Even when you feel low, you can still go. Even when you feel slow, you can still go. Even when there's no hope, you can still go. I never answer to no, man, I still go. Go, 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 yo, go, go, go. Hustle hard, hustle every single day. I'll be making moves till I'm buried in my grave. To the system, I don't wanna be a slave. I've been doing shit my way, or the highway. And in the driveway is a nice range. Cause I grind through the climb, I invite pain. You'll never hear me, bitch, nah, I don't complain. Just gotta flip the switch and you can go and obtain anything you want, anything you need. Your mind's got the key ingredient, it's belief. They'll deceive with the negativity, but I just slide right by that energy. Even when you feel low, you can still go. Even when you feel slow, you can still go. Even when there's no hope, you can still go. I never answer to no, man, I still go. Go, 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 go. You got a mind, but even that could change. You could flip the gray matter like some batter in your brain. That's why they say, fake it till you make it A. And if you play that game, then you just might make a change.
Yo, 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 yo. What's up and poppin', everybody? Happy Saturday. It is game day. Lions and Commanders today. It's a big day. We've waited 40 years for this. 40 years to have a dominant Lions team, and we finally have it this year. It's going to be great. Let's hope. But we have also had 40 years of heartbreak. So I don't know. I'm kind of scared to get my hopes up, but I'm hoping for the best. But anyways, on today's show, we do have a special guest. This man is a comedian and actor. He is currently participating in an upcoming movie shot in Flint, Michigan called The Nice Agreement. He has also just recorded his latest album called Obnoxious Behavior, which was also was shot in the world famous Machine Shop. And lately he has been touring with Bobcat Goldthwait and has shared the stage with comedians like Tom Green, Harlan Williams, Chris Kattan, and has recently appeared on Dan Cook's YouTube show called Recap. Ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, comedian Dustin Cole.
What up? Hey, my guy. Hey, your opening is tight too, dude. Like that, your opening song and that whole montage of like Midland stuff. That's sweet.
Yeah, the video I did, but I do have to shout out. I know his name just Nefx. Thank you, Nefx, for the intro music. He is responsible.
Yeah, awesome, for that. Man. That's a sick beat. I like it.
Yeah, his link is in the description below if you want to go check out his album.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I didn't steal it, but I have to give him a shout out every time I use it. But yeah, before we get started real quick, go ahead and take 30 seconds to introduce yourself to the people out there.
Yeah. So Dustin Cole, I'm a stand-up comedian based out of Flint, Michigan. I've been at it for about 20-ish years. I'm going into year 20, actually this October, I believe. Be starting year 20. So I've been at it a minute. Done a few things, pretty cool stuff, but I mean, at the end of the day, it's just nice to be able to, pay your bills telling jokes. So, and here we are, man. Listen, I'd love to talk about it.
Yeah, I was on your YouTube channel, and it was like,
oh man, that's embarrassing. Yeah, because I took down most of my good clips because I have that new the album /special that I did. So I took down a lot of the old stuff just because I want, and I left up a few stuff just for promotion to like send to clubs and stuff like that. So that so that you saw like the grainy stuff. I dig it.
Oh yeah. There was there was a joke about. I don't think most people that are listening like around the country would get this because I don't think they're nationwide.
The Bernsteins, that's what you're going to reference.
Yeah, the Bernsteins. I was like, you can only be in Michigan and know that joke. But
that's a bit that I keep in my. So like if I'm doing a show in Michigan, I keep it in my back pocket And then if there's like a lull in the set where like a punchline that normally hits doesn't hit or whatever, I go, all right, here comes the Bernsteins, because that'll always get the rise out of people for whatever reason. So I always keep that one in my back pocket and I whip it out when I need it. It's kind of funny.
Right. I think that there was a part where you're like Richard Bernstein's wandering off in a corner somewhere, and I was like, "No, he did it! No, he fucking did it!" I'm like, the crowd loved it, but it was great.
There's a funny story. So one time, like I said, that joke always hits in Michigan because everybody knows the Bernsteins and everybody knows that the kids have goofy eyes and stuff.
Yeah,
and there was one time I was doing it wasn't like a show. Like I was booked for like a Christmas party, like a family Christmas party, at like a bowling alley or something. And I went and I did that bit and it got no laughs. And I was like, oh, that's interesting. So I just kept going. And then as I'm like riffing with the crowd a little bit, it comes out that because these are very well-to-do people and they're connected to the Bernsteins. And like one of them's like, it's not nice to pick on, other people. And I was like, oh man, just come on. Like
it's jokes.
Like well, that's the thing too. To me, they're just like characters on TV. And then all of a sudden I'm performing for people that like probably take vacations with them. And so
right.
Like I'm bashing their neighbor. So
yeah, you understand they live here too, but it's okay. But it was funny. It's hilarious. And it's always, you got to think you're not the only one that was thinking that the entire time. People out there were like, man.
And what's crazy about it too, if you talk to any comedian based out of Michigan, they all have a Bernstein bit in their pocket. like we all do. And they're all just different variations of the same joke, but it's there because it gets a solid, like if you're in Michigan and you're in a slump, like it'll get a burst.
Right.
Everybody knows the Bernsteins.
Everyone. But yeah, it's crazy. Like so you got Tom Green, Bobcat, who you tour with like on a regular basis, apparently, right?
Yeah, if he's in the Midwest region, I usually get the call to come tag along with him.
That's cool. So how does a kid from like Flint, Michigan or North Branch like you said, you move around a lot. Yeah, how does a kid like that like end up getting into a comedy scene?
So with stand up, I guess the best comparison to make is just like every like comic book superhero, like every comedian has a very unique origin story, of their own. And mine's no different. For me, like I said, it was a little over 20 years ago. I had an apartment in Davison, Michigan. I was single. It was just me and my cat. And I remember like I was thumbing through the channels because this was back before streaming was a thing and you actually had to pay for cable and stuff and just watch what was on TV.
Right.
I stumbled across Comedy Central and one of Dane Cook's early comedy specials were on. And I just, I left it on there and while I was doing stuff around the apartment and, I caught myself coming back to it often and just kind of, I'd laugh here and there. And then I eventually just kind of ended up on the couch, just watching the rest of it. And I kind of decided, I was like, he's having a blast up there. I want to do that. That's what I want to do. And, I knew obviously getting famous, there's obviously a very slim margin that happens to, but I was like, what, if I can somehow get paid to do what he's doing, cause that looks fun, I want to do it. And again, at the time I'm living in Davison, nowhere near Detroit. So I didn't know what that meant. I didn't know what I was supposed to do. I had no idea what an open mic was. I had no idea what the path that people generally take was. I just knew that's what I wanted to do. So I went out and I bought a couple of notebooks, a few pens, and anything I thought was funny, I would just jot it down. Like I had no idea the concept of a punchline and a setup. If I thought something was funny, I just wrote it down really. If I thought it was funny the way my cat walked to his food dish, I would describe it in detail, write it down.
All right. And
then one day I was having lunch with a buddy of mine, and I told him, I was like, hey, I want to be a comedian. This is what I've decided. This is what I want to do. I don't want to go to college. This is what I want to be a comedian. And he pointed out that this bar in Flint called Maxie's, which it's gone now. I think it burned down like 10 or 12 years. I don't know, something. It's gone. But he said that, they do comedy there every Sunday night. And it's not just like open mic comedy. Like it's a full blown, like they have a different headliner, a feature, a host every week. And so I said, all right, well, that's a starting spot. So I call up there and I was like, hey, can I get on one of these shows? And they were like, well, it doesn't really work like that. It's booked by this person. And you got, here's the host's number if you want to call him. And so I called him. His name's Rusty. We're still Facebook friends to this day. And I was like, hey, can I get on one of these shows? He was like, well, and you could tell he was skeptical right away. He was like, are you a comedian? And I didn't want to tell the truth and say, no, I haven't done this yet, because I knew he'd probably be like, well, get out of here then. Like, so I was like,
Right.
yeah, I've been at it for a couple of years, and you could tell that he probably saw through my bullshit too. But he was like, well, I tell you what, if you want to this Sunday night, come on out. You can do a guest spot. I'll give you 5 minutes. And I didn't even know what a guest spot was, but I was like, all right, yeah, sure. Cool. So I went out there. I can't even remember most of what I said up there. I do remember. Is this censored? I don't know, before I say what I'm about to say.
Oh no, you can swear.
Okay. All right. The only thing I remember from my set that night was my very first line. Like I got up on stage and the first thing out of my mouth was, I got into stand up for the pussy.
Okay.
The most vile line possible. And it's not a setup. It's not a punchline. It's nothing. It's just a line.
Right.
But I remember I was up there and I got probably a couple chuckles throughout the 5 minutes. It was enough to make me go, okay, yeah, I want to keep doing this. And, I kind of networked with the headliner that night. His name's Steve Sabo. He still gives me work to this day. And that's kind of where I learned, okay, yeah, you got to do these open mics. And there were really none around where I lived. So I spent pretty much the next couple years, I would go to work, and then after work, I would drive down to the Detroit area, and I would hit up 2 or 3 open mics a night for like 4 nights a week. And then eventually, I just got hooked up with the right people, and I got offered some stuff, and here we are 20 years later. But I caught a couple lucky breaks in there, with meeting some of the right people. But, I made it through some of the right doors, and, I've been able to stay at it, and not everybody can say that. So I'm very proud of that.
Right. Yeah. Like you can tell you're very comfortable on stage. Like when I saw some of your stand up, you're very comfortable up there, which is hard. It's hard to do. Like, especially if we're like an upcoming comedian. Like, were you always like really comfortable, or was it always a time where you're just like, eh?
I wasn't always comfortable, but I always wanted to kind of portray that I was, just because one thing you kind of learn early on is that if you're not confident up there, and the crowd can, at least on purpose, and the crowd, they can sense it, and they'll not necessarily eat you alive up there, but they lose interest, like they don't, like they start, okay, this kid is just a kid, he's new, like let's talk instead until the next comedian comes up, that sort of thing.
Right.
But again, like my inspiration for doing comedy, and I catch a lot of flack from this from other comedians because a lot of people hate him, was Dane Cook. And Dane's very confident on stage. So like, that's kind of like that first time I saw him, I was like, this is what I want to do. I want to do this, and because I do know a lot of comedians, their whole thing is, they're self-deprecating, they go up there, they kind of portray like an air of, like just kind of being down on themselves and stuff like that. And I never wanted to do that. Like, I wanted to go up there. I wanted to be happy. I wanted people to, I wanted to be somebody that, if people in the crowd, like if they're like, I would hang out with this guy after the show. Like I would have a drink with this guy.
Right.
I always kind of wanted, even if I wasn't confident early, because, it's hard to be confident early on when, your stuff is untested and you don't know what you got. But I always tried to portray that I was. Now it's just different. Now I get up there and it's like, it's second nature. It's who I am. And
it's fun now.
Yeah,
fun.
It's fun. It's always fun. It's always fun. And that's, you don't make a ton of money doing stand up, but one thing I'm very proud of is that, I never gave up the dream. I graduated, much like you too, you got your own podcast. Like it's kind of the same idea. I graduated with a lot of people that went on to be, doctors, engineers, lawyers, stuff like that. And they're killing it, in their bank account, stuff like that. But I know growing up, that was never what they wanted to do, and so that's, I take a lot of pride in that. I never gave up the dream.
Right. Yeah. It's pretty much with me with the podcasting. Like I just pretty much, I wish I would have found it like 20 years earlier.
Sure.
But yeah, I enjoy having it. And it was pretty much, I had a lack of places to do stand up. That's why I pretty much started podcasting.
So
like,
did you do stand up for a little bit?
We had a club out here in Saginaw. It was called Shooters.
Yes, I've done Shooters.
Yeah, they did.
I mean, it's been a while, but yeah, I've done Shooters.
Yeah, they had a comedy night there. So one of my friends was scheduled to. He was supposed to go up there, and he ended up getting nervous and ended up getting really, really shit faced. You know, and I was just like, well, if he's not going to go up there, I'm like, I'll just take his slot, you know? So they called his name and I just jumped up there, you know, and they pretended to be him. And so that kind of like knowing that I wasn't myself, like I pretty much it was like a comfort level with me. I'm like, hey, they don't know.
Yeah, there's nothing
not this
to
guy,
lose.
so I'm just going to rag on all these people in the front row. So I pretty much did crowd work for like 3 minutes. And then I got off stage and everyone loved it and everything like that. And the promoter's like, hey, can you come back like next week and do like 5 minutes? And I was like, hell yeah, I just killed up there. Fuck yeah, I'll come back and do 5 minutes. So I went home, took a whole week, prepared like a whole 5 minute thing. You know, thought I was hilarious. I thought it was great. Went up there, I bombed badly. And I think it was because
it happens.
I wasn't intoxicated. To be one, because I was nervous. I was pretty much my buddy the week before. I was just like, oh shit, you know. So I went up there, bombed, and then I did another set, and I ended up doing okay on that set, and then it ended up closing down. So I was just like, man.
Because right away, like when you sent me that friend request and I went to your page and I remember you, I was like, oh, we got a few people in common, and most of them are comedians. So I was like, did he get into comedy? I was like, that's crazy. So
yeah, a little bit. Yep.
Yep.
I dabbled. I'll say I dabbled, but then I just created the podcast and I was like, I'll start creating sets for the podcast and use them on there. So that's how it all began. Now I'm here.
Yeah, dude, you're killing it, man.
Yeah. Trying to, anyways. But yeah.
Well, you've had a couple of big names on there. Like I flipped through the roster. Yeah.
I've had Tommy Chong on. That was pretty much the biggest one. But yeah, he was definitely in my top 5. I had to get him on when I had the opportunity.
Yeah,
I would love to give him on again now that I'm more experienced, because I think it was a couple years ago. But now that I'm a little bit more experienced, I'd like to have him on again. But yeah,
absolutely.
Great stuff. But yeah, so what were your favorite venue that you've played in so far? Because you've really been all across the country.
I would, yeah, and oddly enough, I'll put it into 2 categories. So my favorite like venue just in general actually is the Machine Shop, which I'm actually wearing some of their merch right now. They're I don't know if you've ever been there, but they're a rock club in Flint, but they do comedy every now and then, usually some pretty big names. And a lot of times I get the call to go out there and open the show. And they're always, so I got a little bit of a fan base in and around the Flint area. You know, I'm not going to say I'm famous or anything, but I have people that come out to see me if I'm within like the Genesee County area. So that's always fun to do that one, because I can usually pack it in there. And then as far as like comedy clubs go, my favorite one is in Waterford, Michigan. It's called One Night Stands. And I really love that. Like they always have a really great crowd. The staff is top notch. Mike Green runs the club, who's also a fellow comedian. So he knows, you know, what it's like. He knows what goes into making a club successful. And they're also the ones that like they always want me back. And that means a lot to me, you know, because they always call I usually get 2 or 3 weekends a year out of them, which most other clubs I'll, you know, get a weekend here or there, maybe 1 or every 2 years, but they always they trust me to come out and do a good job, and they always want me back. So I mean, those are probably my top 2. Outside of Michigan, there's a really great club in Albuquerque, New Mexico called Quezada's Comedy Club. I played there in June, and I'm just like I'm chomping at the bit to get back there because it was just so much fun. So those are probably the 3 I'd put up there for sure.
New Mexico,
yeah. Well, that was when I lucked out with Bobcat, actually, because Bobcat was sent out there to headline, and he took me as his opener. So I got to. So a lot of times when I get to experience the stuff outside of this region, it's usually because of him or a situation like that.
Okay. Now, when you're touring with Bobcat, is it just you and him, or is it like a plethora of comedians too?
It's usually me. And so Bobcat so the way a standard comedy show will work, you got your headliner, a feature, which is like the middle act, and then the host, which will do a few minutes up front. And usually the tour is me and Bobcat. Bobcat will headline, I'll obviously feature, and then usually most venues will have their own host, or in the case that they don't, we normally take one with us. So
right,
but it's normally me and him hitting the road, and just venue after venue.
So you have like one person just hosting that's introducing all the comics and stuff. Just goes up there.
Yep.
And
he goes up
like a line or two.
Yeah, they'll usually go up, do like 10 or 15 minutes up front, and then they'll pull me up to do about 30, and then Bobcat closes the show with like 45 to an hour or whatever he wants to do.
Right, that'd be dope. That'd be dope to do.
It is, yeah. It's been surreal so far.
Now, like Dane Cook's YouTube series, that recap.
Yeah.
I have yet to check that out. What was like being on there?
So it's kind of interesting how I got on there. I think the tour's over now, but he was on tour for the last few months. It's his I think he called it the Fresh New Flavor Tour, and he took basically like a documentary crew on the road with him, and they would shoot some coverage at each show, and then they would break it down into like 7-minute episodes, usually 2 or 3 times a week. And I didn't make it to any of the Michigan shows because I had my own stuff going on, but I was able to I drove down. He was doing a show in Columbus, Ohio. So I went down there, and I paid for the meet and greet as well. So, and I wanted to, knowing that he was filming this, and knowing he was a big reason I got into comedy, he's a big hero of mine. Like, I wanted to do something that would get me on this, so I could then have a credit and say, hey, he's appeared with Dane Cook. So, so I wanted to stand out in this meet and greet. So I'll throughout the years, oftentimes people would tell me, you remind me of Dane Cook, whether it's like the hair, how I dress, like how I move around up there and stuff like that. So I said, okay, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to dress up as Dane Cook from his special Vicious Circle, which I think was like kind of when people think of Dane Cook, they think of that Dane Cook. So I was like, all right. So I went out and I found like a similar shirt, similar jeans, and I wore the wristband. I let my hair grow out a little bit so I could do like the messy thing. And then when the meet and greet hit, it got to be my turn. And like, he looked at me, he's like, holy shit, like you're me. And I was like, yeah, I did this on purpose, blah, blah, blah. And then he was like, you know what? I've never had somebody dress up as me at a show. This is crazy. And we had a little exchange, and he actually right here, like I took this DVD to have signed, and he wrote on it, thanks for dressing up, Dane Cook. And then when my time was over, he was like, hey, watch recap. You're definitely going to make the next episode. I was like, yes. So like I got on it, and I'm on it for like 5 seconds, the quick, and he makes a mention of, oh, this guy dressed up as me and stuff like that. So, and he even talked about it on his Instagram a little bit.
Okay.
So now I was able to, while I haven't opened for Dane Cook, I was able to appear with Dane Cook. And now that's a very proud thing I throw on my resume now, just because, like I said, he's one of my comedy heroes. So I got lucky.
Right. I think that is everyone's like favorite Dane Cook special, is the Vicious Circle.
Oh yeah. 100%. Like even before the show, like when I was in like cause I went down there myself, my wife, like I love her to death. Stuff like that doesn't do anything for her. She's like, I'll stay home, knock yourself, go out, have fun. So like I drove down to Columbus, Ohio by myself, and I'm in like the lobby area of the theater before the show. I'm just getting checked in, and like I had a couple people come over and want to take pictures because they were like, oh, you're like Dane. And, so I thought that I was like, all right, this is good. I got a good shot of getting some attention here. So I put myself out there in total like dork fashion, like cosplayed as Dane Cook, and it worked out. It worked out.
Like, you got to find that gimmick though. Whatever pushes you over. That's what you
100%. Yeah. So now, like, I throw it on there, like on my resume now, it says, I don't say open for, but I say appeared with Dane Cook. Yeah.
Yeah. It's like, I remember
you take the credits any way you can get.
Right. Exactly. Just like, yep. That's why I had the people on here that I do. So that's why there's dollars, but it happens.
Well, there's like some comedians I work with, sometimes I'll look at, normally on the flyers, there will be like their bio and stuff like that. And a lot of times like it'll say something like appeared on CBS, and I'm thinking to myself, what would they have? And then I was like, they were probably just like on the news for like a like a 15-second blip, and now they're like, hey, you know what? I was on TV. Let's throw it on there. It sounds so, because basically anytime you can load up your resume and look at is the fuller you can get it looking, the better. Like people tend to, the bookers and stuff like that tend to gravitate to it.
Right. Now, are you like starstruck at all? Because if I don't know, I'm a big fan of Tom Green. If I would have met Tom Green in person, I'd probably be like, holy shit, it's Tom Green. Like, what's up? And I try to keep my composure, but is there like a time where you're just like, okay, that's fucking, or you're like, that's fucking Bobcat, holy fuck, or that's Dane Cook, holy shit.
I get Dane Cook kind of made me a little starstruck because, like I said, because of the history. And then all those other guys I've worked with, I've been fans of, like, since I was a kid, just stuff that they've done, like especially someone like Tom Green. Tom Green was one of the ones where he was at the machine shop, and I got it. They were like, hey, do you want to come out and do some time in front of Tom? He's not bringing his own opener, so if you want to come out and do it, I was like, awesome. So I was. It's one of those things where sometimes you don't quite know like what to say to them, because you're opening for them. So in a way, like, you want them to think that you're like a peer to them. You know what I mean? So it's hard because you don't want to like open up and be like, hey, I've been a fan since I was a kid. And this, you want to have like real conversations with them. With him, it was hard because I was picking his brain. I was like, hey, what's Glenn Humplick up to these days? Like, oh, Glenn's living in, so stuff like that. So Bobcat, however, he's really interesting because he's just like a cool guy. Like he'll talk to like any comedian, just like you are equals. You're both comedians. You talk shop with him, and he's actually played a lot of the venues that a lot of these other comedians have played, because he came up too, like he, granted it was like 30-40 years ago, but a lot of these places are still around. And like, you mention a place and be like, oh my God, they're like, that place is still, like, yeah, that club's still around. And he was like, wow, that's crazy. Right. And now, he's kind of at a point in his career where, he's come down a little bit, because he was in Police Academy, Scrooge, and all that stuff. And he's still a name and he's still famous, but he's kind of on the come down now. So he's playing a lot of places that I would play anyway. And he's very humble about it. He's a very talented guy. He's the best he's 100% the best comedian I've ever worked with. Like the way we got hooked up was very interesting. He was doing a pub near where I live, called Flanagan's, which ironically, like Maxie's, is also closed down now. But he was playing this pub, and I wasn't on the show, but the booking agency that put it together is they're the comedian company. They're a company that I get a lot of my work from. So I just kind of threw a Hail Mary, and I reached out and I said, hey, I don't have a show on this night. This is 20 minutes from my house. Do you care if I just hop on and do a quick little guest spot so I can just say, hey, I worked with Bobcat Goldthwait? And they were cool with it. So I go out there, and I was given a 7-minute guest spot. So I have 7 minutes before the feature act, which that night was a guy named Sal D'Amelio, who's a really good friend of mine. And I went up, I was working on a brand new 7 at the time. So I figured, well, I got 7 minutes on this guest spot. I'll do this brand new 7, and I'll be in and out of there. I'll meet Bobcat, get a picture. We'll call it a day. I went up and did my thing. Just like any other comedian will tell you, the first time you do brand new material on stage, like, it never goes great. Like, you might get a couple laughs, but it's a very rough draft. And that's basically what happened to me. And then Sal went up, did his thing. And then Bobcat went up and just put on a clinic. And it was like, the place was filled to capacity. I was in the back of the room, just kind of watch. I was leaning against the wall watching it. And every time he'd hit a punchline, the place would erupt with so much laughter that like I could feel the wall like vibrate on my back. It was like he was just that good.
Wow.
And then after the show, we all go up and hang out in the green room upstairs, and we're all just chatting, making small talk. And Sal eventually is like, hey, I'm taking off. Bob, it was good meeting you. Dustin, I'll see you on the next one this night. He takes off. And I kind of take that as my cue to take off too. So I get up and I say goodbye to Bob. And it was a small bar. So there was only one door in and out of this place. And he was like, no, if you don't mind, stay for a little bit because I want to wait for it to clear out a little bit downstairs before I take off and keep me company up here. And so I was like, all right, cool. So we sat there for about another like hour and a half. We ordered some food and we're really clicking and we're hitting it off. And then I start replaying my set from that night in my head. And I was like, you fucking idiot. Like, you were given 7 minutes in front of Bobcat and you did this brand new material instead of doing the highlight package. Like that would really like showcase yourself for him. Right. So I get this pit in my stomach but I let it go. And then afterwards, we walk to our cars, we take one more picture, say goodbye. And I think that's probably that. And I'm like, okay, that was cool. I opened for Bobcat. Sweet. Good story. Boom. Let's move on. Right. But then I get a call like 3 or 4 months later from, the same booking agency, and he was like, hey, I'm putting together another run for Bobcat in a few months. It's a 3-run tour, and when we were talking about openers with him, I brought you up because I knew you guys kind of hit it off, and I said, hey, would you want Dustin to open for you on this tour? And he was like, absolutely, yeah, have him out. So now I get this redemption, and not only am I getting not just a guest spot, but I'm featuring. So I'm doing 30 minutes before him 3 nights in a row. So, and that was the following fall. So we did the State Theater in Bay City, the Machine Shop in Flint, and one other place. And they were all really great. And we kind of hit it off and we exchanged numbers. Like we talk quite a bit. Like I just shot him a text a few days ago because he's based in LA. And I was like, hey, are you doing okay with the fires? And he was like, oh yeah, me and Polly, his girlfriend, they're in Ireland, so they're safe and this and that. But it's like we got that kind of a relationship now, where we just, I would call us friends. He probably would too. But I think that like I definitely put it on more of a pedestal than he does. But right. But yeah, we did. Anytime he's local and even sometimes not local, I get the call and they're like, hey, if you want to tag along with him on this, hop on. And so if nothing ever comes of this comedy thing ever again, like if it just stops here, like the one thing I think I'm most proud of is that like I've not necessarily opened for him, but actually built a friendship with him, and not even necessarily just because he's a great comedian, but he's just a great guy, and I've established that connection, and I think that it's super cool. And if there was something I could like hang up to represent that, I would, but it's just not a tangible thing, but it's definitely the coolest thing I got.
Yeah, it is kind of cool. Like just to even like just to have a conversation with somebody or just pick their brain, get tips from them or something, anything like that.
Well, he's one of those guys too that after you talk to him for about 5 minutes, you forget that you're talking to somebody that's done all the things that he's done. He's such an accomplished comedian, actor, director, writer. He's done all this stuff, but he talks to you just like you were like you're just two people, and like and you don't see that with a lot of. I've worked with a lot of these guys, and you don't see that with most of them. He's definitely Tom Green's actually really cool too. And I think a lot of it is because he's based out of Canada, and he's just a naturally nice guy, because they all are. And so he's pretty cool too. He's really cool as well.
That seems to be like the motto in Canada, is that everyone's very nice.
Yeah, they're all just super nice, super. Like I pass through there a lot because sometimes, like if I get a gig in the state of New York, it's just easier to cut through as opposed to go all the way around. Right. And every time I pass through, there's nobody that doesn't greet you, smile at you, offer you a pillow. Like it's like they're all just super, super friendly.
Wow, a pillow. It's like across the border. Will you like a pillow?
Yeah.
Like, sure. Give me a pillow. I'm kind of tired. Why not? Yeah. But yeah, that's crazy. So you're also working on a movie? Are you like
so
producing and directing, or
I'm just I've in these stages, I'm just in these projects anyway, I'm just an actor. I filmed a role for movie based in Flint called The Nice Agreement. It's a comedy. I play a doctor. I think that's due out sometime this spring. It's an independent film. And then I was recently cast as by the same production company. I was recently cast to play a coroner now in this next more serious film. And I think it's because they have a lab coat fitted for me and they're just like, whatever, like you save this same outfit for him just give him a similar role or something along those lines. But
Okay.
Yeah. Aside from that, I've been in a few like shorts over the years, but nothing that's made it to the map or anything like that. But these two are probably the most promising ones I've had because they're actually like full blown like movies with the budget behind them and stuff like that.
Oh, that's dope. Now, are you like shooting for like Tubi or something like that, or on the independent?
I'm not sure what I know they're gunning for some festivals, like they want to put it into some independent film comedy or independent film festivals and stuff like that. I was cast in the Nice Agreement. I was cast in that one because the role called for like the doctor to be like quirky and funny, and like the description they gave, they were like the exact words were a Jim Carrey type, and I guess they thought I kind of fit that bill in the audition, and there we were. But
it's like, well, this guy looks like Dane Cook. Good enough. Good.
Yeah. Like they literally wanted my hair longer because they were like, we want you to resemble Jim Carrey because that's what we want people thinking about. I was like, all right, that's fine. I can do that. As long as you don't want me to shave it, that's fine. I don't.
Right. Now, would you shave your head for a role?
I don't know. For a small role, probably not. I mean, if it was something where like it was a movie starring Ryan Gosling or something, and I had a few lines with him and some banter, yeah, shave it off, do it. Yeah. That'll probably get me somewhere.
Like it'll grow back. I'm gonna cry.
Yeah, it'll grow back. Well, I'm one of those people, so like I'm very particular about my hair. Like I'm a bit of a diva when it comes to my hair. Like it's like even my wife, she's into hair and makeup and all that stuff, but even she'll admit that like I'm the one that spends more time in the bathroom. Like it's and I'm kind of going through a phase right now where I had the same hairstylist for probably like 5 years, and it was a situation where I'd show up, I'd sit down, she wouldn't even ask what I wanted, she just knew, and she would do it, and she would do it perfect. And then one day, like the last time I went in there to get a haircut, she was like, "Oh, just so you know, I got a job at a bank because I got to get off my feet. I'm getting a little older, I don't want to be sitting." And I was like, "What am I supposed to do?" That was my big. I was like, "What the hell am I supposed to?" So now, like for about the last, I don't know, maybe 2 years, I've been a little bit of a hair orphan, and like I let my hair get a little too long because I'm always afraid that I'm going to go somewhere and they're just going to screw it up. So like it's I'm still looking for that new signature hairstylist that I just haven't found yet. But I've had a few get close. But
Yeah.
Hang on. I think you froze up there for a second.
She won't like do it on the side, an extra $10.
Hang on one second. You're really breaking up. Try it now.
Yep. Yeah, it's computer's lagging right now. There we go.
Oh, I think I got you. I got you.
Okay, we're good. But yeah, it was like could you like have her do it like on the side or something? Let's be like, hey, can you like, I'll come over to your house and trim me up or do something like that.
I thought about asking that, but we had a very professional relationship, like it never kind of evolved to like a friendship or anything. So it was, because my wife used to be a hairstylist too. And I asked her, I was like, should I just, and she was like, no, don't do that. So I was like, all right. So I let it go. And, I've had a couple people like not necessarily butcher it, but it's one of those things because they're all talented. I get that. But it's one of those things that when I describe something to somebody, they're hearing it, they're deciphering what I'm telling them in their own way, and then sometimes it just turns out, the way it is. But
right. So, you're also involved with a podcast, a pretty successful podcast, might I add.
Yeah, a little bit. It's called Hide and Seek. It's a true crime podcast, so it's a bit more serious than what the comedic chops would have me do. But
right,
I host a wrap-up show for their weekly episodes on like their Patreon page. So like the people that are like super fans of the podcast and pay for like the extra Patreon stuff, that's who gets me. Like I basically like the new episodes release every Friday for the Patreon members. And if I don't have a gig a few hours later, I basically hop on and like wrap the show up with them and talk to them about their theories and stuff like that. Because it's really cool too. Each season focuses on a different missing person, and they do a big deep dive into these things. It's hosted by a guy named James Basinger. He's really good at what he does. And I actually just started because I'm really big into true crime podcasts. Like when when I'm on the road, I usually download a few episodes of one podcast or this podcast here or there, and then I just listen to that for the duration of the ride. And I became a really big fan of that podcast. And I got involved in some of the Facebook pages, discussing theories and stuff like that. And it kind of came to light that I was a comedian. So they reached out, they were like, hey, we want to host for the wrap-up show. Is this something you'd be interested in? And they do it on Fridays. So, I basically, as long as I don't have a gig on Fridays, I'm all about it. And it's really cool to be involved. And because it's for a good cause too, because they're not only like covering these cases, like they're missing persons cases. So it's a situation where they're still trying to figure out, what happened to these people. Right. And so it's kind of cool too, because it's for a really good cause. And
yeah, that's really
it's
dope.
A mission. Yeah.
Yeah, when I was checking it out, and I thought it was just like something that was like past cases that have already been solved, and people are just digging into it and stuff like that. And I was like, well, this is still really cool. But yeah, that's dope that they're actually doing like ongoing cases that have not been solved. So you never know.
And he's gotten close to the last season. Actually, was in Michigan. I was like down in like the Michiana area, like the Michigan, Indiana area. In Sturgis, and it was about a woman named Brittany Wallace Shank who went missing. And without getting into too many details about it, like by the end of it, like he basically had it pegged on, what happened, but it's one of those things. He's not law enforcement, so he can't just go out and arrest people. And obviously evidence is evidence. You need more of this and that, but he's very, very good at what he does. So anybody out there that's watching and listen, that's into that kind of thing, like it's edge of your seat stuff. It's really, really cool.
Yeah, check it out. Like I'm a new fan.
Do it. Listen to season like if you want to binge a season, listen to season 3. Season 3 is so chaotic and crazy, and it's in Michigan too, so it's hits a little bit near home.
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah, definitely. People just check it out just because of Michigan, because if they're from Michigan, they're definitely just going to check it out because of that.
That always adds a layer.
Are you big into like the conspiracy and paranormal theories and all that stuff, or not?
Yeah, I mean, I'm always open to it. Like if people have their opinions, I'm definitely more into like the alien stuff than I am like ghosts, so to speak. Just because I almost feel, because the thing for me is like with, a ghost is definitely like a supernatural thing. That's something that, is tangible or intangible that can't be explained. And to where like with aliens, aliens to me are very intriguing because it's, all it takes for an alien to exist is to have life somewhere else. And like the whole idea that like we are so small and minuscule compared to like the entire galaxy out there is just so intriguing to me. And to know that there's just so much to discover out there is nuts. And I get into all the crazy Bigfoot stuff too.
The Bigfoot, you think Sasquatch real?
All this stuff. Here's the thing. I want to believe that it is. I do. I really do. And a lot of people present really interesting theories. My issue with stuff like that is that if Bigfoot is real, there's more than one Bigfoot. You know what I mean? That means there's a species of Bigfoot, and you never find these you never find a Bigfoot carcass. You know what I mean? No. So either they're very, very good at like, burying and burning and taking care of their own after they pass. Like, I don't know. It's hard to dive into.
Right. I had I think it was about a year ago. I had a paranormal and UFO expert on. His name was Ryan Stacy. Very nice guy, and he's very intelligent, and he's very good at what he does. He does investigations on like paranormal events and like plane and like UFO crashes and stuff like that. And he came up with a theory that Bigfoot, the aliens, and like spirits, like ghosts and everything, that they're all intertwined all together. Like they're all just like a part of different dimensions that just like kind of just like pop in and
Yeah,
out of here.
that is an
And
interesting
I was
theory.
like, well, I was like, yeah, I'm like, I could see it that way. I'm like, just you have like visitors from different multiverses coming in and just popping
Yeah.
in and out. I'm like, I
Mhm.
could see it that way, but who knows?
That
Who
I mean,
knows?
that is a while you would almost need some more proof to kind of definitively say that, it's definitely a theory,
Right.
because that would explain why, like, okay, there's a picture of Bigfoot, but again, like I said, you never find them just laying around dead anywhere. Right. But like if they're just popping in and out like that, that's definitely a theory for sure.
Right. I'm like, yeah, because you never see like the dead Bigfoot or the dead Loch Ness monster or anything like that.
Yeah, and that's what I feel, because if there is a Loch Ness monster, just like a Bigfoot, there's more than one. It doesn't just appear.
Right. I was reading an article and they were saying like the Loch Ness monster was nothing but just a sperm whale boner.
It looks like one.
It was in a lake. I'm like, the only thing that doesn't make sense, like, it was in a lake. I'm like, if it was in an ocean, I could see that, but in a lake, a sperm whale in a lake. I'm like, how did it get there? How is it surviving? Really?
And as a side note, like the ocean is like the scariest thing in the world to me. Like I like when you like read and see pictures of like what's really like deep down there. Like I love taking a good tropical vacation. It's my favorite thing in the world. I won't swim in the ocean past my knees, man. No, like my wife will, like she's born for that stuff. Like me, like I'm just under in the line of thinking that like if I go past my knees, like a hammerhead shark is just going to grab me and pull me in, and that's just going to be the end of it. But
my fiance is that way too. She won't go in the ocean, but I'm like, I want to go. Like, I want to get in the ocean. I want to swim with some sharks. Let's do this. And she's like, no.
I mean, just the logic too, where a lot of people will be like, listen, a shark's not going to bother you unless you bother it. I was like, I don't want to be in the realm near something that, like, if it just senses that I pissed it off, like it's gonna like that. I don't want to have to apologize to a shark and talk my way out of not being lunch.
Right. They say just punch it in the nose, and I'm like, well, you're underwater.
Yeah, they say that too. Yeah, you're underwater. Like how? Yeah, that can't be. I don't know.
Like, I don't know. It's just like in the dream. Like, have you ever had that dream where you're trying to hit something and you just can't do it?
Yeah. Or when you're just trying to run away and you just can't move. Yeah, it's the same idea. It's just even like lakes. Like I like swimming deep in lakes. Like I get kind of like a little bit of anxiety about it, just because it's dark. You don't know what's below you. I don't know what's down there. Who knows?
Yeah, I grew up on a lake, so I'm not really afraid of lakes.
Yeah, Sanford Lake, right?
Yeah, yep. Well,
that's crazy. It's crazy what's going on with Sanford Lake. Yeah, that's nuts. Every single time I pass through there, like for comedy or whatever, like I'll drive over that bridge, and you look out there and it's just like weeds and like sand. It's so crazy to see.
Yeah, they're working on the dams right now, but like there's like 3 dams that collapsed in the whole midst of the whole thing, and they're running out of budgeting, and it's gonna be a while before it returns, if ever. Honestly,
that was crazy. That became national news for like weeks. That was so crazy when that happened. I remember telling people, like, I lived there for 2 years. Like, it was nuts.
Right. Like, I've had like neighbors, like my neighbors in my old neighborhood, like their basements have been like were like washed out and shit like that. And I was just like, oh my God. And my grandmother lives right across the street, like where she lives, and still my childhood home where I grew up. We're in a subdivision, and we're on this side of the road, and then when you cross the road, there's a vacant lot, and then there's the lake.
Yeah.
But she got lucky, but it didn't even make it up to the road for her. But it was scary for everybody.
It's crazy. My aunt and uncle have a house on the lake, and when it all happened, when they were finally able to get back into their house, just going into the garage, like there was stuff that was like on the floor in the garage that were sitting on top of their cars. So it's like, it had flooded, and that's so crazy. Like I can't even imagine what it was like to go through that.
Right, exactly. Yeah, like we're watching the floods go on the news, and I'm trying to get in the car and like go to Sanford, and And my fiance's like, "What are you gonna do there?"
Yeah.
And it's like, "What? Like, really? What are you gonna do besides get caught in the flood? What the hell are you gonna do there? What are you gonna accomplish?" And I was like, "Yeah, that's true." I was like, "But I can go up and around and then come back down through here." And it's like, and then by that time it's 2.5 hours and everything's already done. So she's like, "Just stay here." And I was like, "Ugh." But yeah, it took everything for me to not to just rush over there. But honestly, once I got there, what was I gonna do? You know?
Yeah, and it's so wild too, because it's like those homes on that lake are worth a pretty penny, and it probably just took that value like right down too.
Yeah.
I mean, some of them are like they're beautiful homes, like a lot of them are very, very beautiful and they're big, but it's like the whole appeal is, hey, you're right on the lake, and
right.
Now you got weeds.
Yeah, now you got like birch trees and stuff like that is growing.
Yeah.
It's
like, crazy.
Wow. But yep, they're saying it's coming back. I don't know when, 2028 or something like that. I think is the deadline date or something. I don't know.
Yeah, hopefully.
It's weird. It's weird. Yeah, because people are like, I don't know, like Wixom Lake, you're like, how come they can't fill up Wixom Lake first? And it was like, because that's not the way it works.
Yeah.
It flows downstream. You got to fill up this lake before you fill up this lake before you fill up this lake. So, yeah.
We're in 2025 in America. Logical thinking is just out the window at this point. We don't like
right. And I was like, yeah, it's kind of not the way the current works. It's like it's all going downstream. You got to kind of fill up one end to fill up the other, but I don't know.
Yeah, it's like they think people are just picking up the water and dropping it somewhere.
Right. It's like, yep, we can just like airplane it in or something. I don't know. And so even ridiculous. Then, even after they fill it, and like the wildlife isn't going to return for probably a good 10, 15 years. So fishing is going to be out of the question.
So is Wixom Lake empty right now too?
Yeah, pretty much.
Wow.
It's all crazy. Just one big channel, like where the channel used to be that goes.
Okay,
like,
yeah, that makes sense then.
That's the only thing that remains. Yep.
So my parents had a small cabin there too for a few years, a long time ago, like 20 years ago, but that's crazy.
Okay, it says hopefully before she dies. My grandmother is actually tuning in right now.
Oh,
she's
good.
Like, hopefully she's like, hopefully they return it before she dies. And like, hopefully, but we'll see. We're kind of kicking ourselves because that was. Yeah, we had a great opportunity to buy a house on Wixom Lake too. It was a really nice house, and the buyer was like, "I want this house gone. I want to get out of here before like their taxes like go up and stuff."
Mm-hmm.
And now we're like kicking ourselves, like we could have had that nice, beautiful house on that lake. And he goes, and the taxes aren't really going up as much as the people are saying they were, even at all. Because if it doesn't get restored, then what's the point of the taxes, really?
Mm-hmm.
Crazy. But yeah. Craziness. Like, yeah, people don't know this, but we actually went to school together for like 1 year. Before we go, I want to touch base on this real quick. And I remember this,
or Meridian Junior High, right?
Yeah, Meridian Junior High School. Yep. It was small little school. It was only 7th and 8th grade at the time, but now it's like expanded. It's like 7 through like 9 or something like that now.
Oh, really? So like, I see a lot of schools are doing that now. I say we're like the high schools, like 10th through 12th, and then yeah. And I was like, I go past there a lot, and it's just like, man, it's so much bigger and so much better than what I was when I was there. But, but it's crazy. But I remember like one story that you played basketball for the junior high basketball team. Yeah.
And then
I was on the A team. I want that thrown out there.
Yeah.
There was an A and a B team. I made the A team. I didn't play a lot, but I was on the A team.
Right. And that's something that we did a lot together when we were going to school.
We
together.
did.
We hooped a lot.
That's what I remember fondly about you the most. We played basketball a lot, like on lunch, or I think we probably had gym together too. Like we played basketball, and that's always what. Usually, like I said, like you mentioned, I moved around a lot in elementary and junior high, and the people that I connected with most at each of these schools are people that I bonded with over basketball.
Yeah,
that was because that was always like my passion too. So it
was crazy because you played basketball, and then the basketball season came along, and it was over with, and then you were like pressuring me to try out for the track team. You're just like, I played basketball. You got to represent your school somehow. So you join the track team.
You should have played. You should have played basketball. I don't know. Like you were good at basketball. Like I do remember. Like you were really good at basketball. We used to play like 2-on-2 and 3-on-3 all the time. And you were like, you should have played basketball.
Yeah, I should have played basketball. But yeah, I ended up running track that year too. But best decision I ever made. So I actually ran track for like 3 or 4 years after that.
Nice. Yeah. I played basketball throughout high school, but I was eventually, when I got to high school, like in like 10th, 11th, and 12th grade, like I stopped growing in like 9th grade. I was pretty tall, like in 6th, 7th, 8th grade, but then I just stopped growing. So like, and I've just been 6 foot ever since. So like I went from being like a center in like 6th, 7th, and 8th grade to like 9th grade on. They were like, yeah, you're a guard now. Like that's
now play point guard. Like what?
Yeah. So it's like I played a lot of small forward and stuff like that, but I was a little undersized for it too. I was pretty good, like for a year there, like my junior and senior year, like I could dunk, but it was one of those things where like I needed like I needed a path, and I needed to like have no pressure, and like I could barely get it over there with one hand. I could never two-hand it, but I could get it over with one, just barely. It was.
Yeah. I think it was my sophomore year when I dunked for the first time.
Yeah, I'll never forget that moment too. Like that was a big moment. Like, even though like it's something I was like, yeah, I'm never going to do this in a game, but like it was always like, cause that was like, not even like going far in life with basketball was important to me. I wanted to dunk, because I always went to these schools that were like predominantly white people, and so I always thought, if I could dunk, that's really cool. Cause I know a lot of these people can't. And then when I went out and bought you might remember these, they were really popular for a while. They were called strength shoes. You remember
those?
Yes,
I had a pair too.
So I begged my dad for a pair for my birthday one year, and like he looked in the catalog. He was like, "What the hell is this?" Like it's just, they look so ridiculous. And I bought them.
Calves.
I bought them, and I never followed the workout regimen for them, but I would run with them every day. Like I would go running with them every day, and then it eventually, like I'm pretty sure that's what paid off and put me over the top. But I remember my dad just like every time I'd put him on, he would just like kind of roll his eyes, like, it's ridiculous. And looking back on it, looking at those things, they were ridiculous. But
yeah, yep. I had the strength shoes too. I was up in center courts with them all the time.
Just so crazy.
So they're just bouncing back, shoot, like a little kangaroo bounce going on. It's like, what the hell? Like looking at you sideways, like, what's this guy really gonna think he's gonna dunk this way?
Like I would jog through town, with them on, and then I'd take a break in like the party store and buy like a bottle of water and stuff. And you got people like looking at you like you're special, and you need these special shoes, like because your legs are fucked up or something. Like it just
right. Like I could like actually dunk easier with those strength shoes on because they added a good 3 inches.
Yeah. It was like wearing platform shoes. Yeah.
Right. Just throwing it down on people.
I'll have to ask my dad that, because I'm sure that they're still just sitting around somewhere, like in an attic somewhere. Because I know I never got rid of them. Because where am I going to get rid of it? Who's going to take these? You know what I mean? Like it's
like we're gonna break out the string shoes again. We're dunking at 40.
Yep, we're gonna do it.
We're dunking at 40. But sadly, this is my least favorite part of the show.
Okay,
we are out of time, and
all right.
I do appreciate.
Oh yeah, we're already at an hour. That went quick. This was fun, man.
Yeah, it goes by really quick. I love how the show goes, but I always hate saying goodbye because I always feel like we could go on forever.
Well, dude, you said you live in Midland, right?
Yeah.
I'll look at my schedule. The next time I have a show in that area, I'll give you a call and I'll have you out and we'll hang or something. We'll do something. Yeah. Let's do that.
For sure. Sounds good. We should do that for sure.
Sanford Junior High for life.
Yep, exactly.
Meridian. That's what it is.
Meridian. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. I have to get in touch with the old school buddies that maybe you can remember you remember a few of them. Who knows?
I remember one of them because he was really, really good at basketball and he probably went far. Derek Fillmore.
Oh God, I hate that guy.
So yeah.
Live on Facebook. I hate you, Derek Fillmore. I'm sorry.
That was like that's just one name that's always stuck in my head because like everybody just loved him, Yeah.
No, I don't hate him. I'll like nothing but love for him, honestly. But he's honestly doing really well.
That's
it's just
good.
he's just one of those people that in high school where you're just like, he's better than you at everything, and you hate him for it.
Yeah.
And that's just like, but I still beat him in the 8th grade horse tournament in gym class. So eat it.
Nice. Get those
Hold that
corner
over his head.
threes. Yeah.
Yep, I beat him to get 3rd place. So I was just like, yeah, eat it, Derek. What?
You know what? Beating him for 3rd though is better than finishing 1st. It's almost like Michigan beating Ohio State if they go on to win the national championships. Like, well, we beat them, so whatever. You know.
Right, great. It was the best tasting Snickers bar I ever got. So there. But all right, Dustin, I do want to thank you for coming on and taking some time out of your day to chit chat with me. If you have anything to plug or any shout outs to give, now's the time to do it, bro.
Just give me a follow. Facebook.com/Dustin Cole Comedy. Instagram at Dustin Cole minus the I because some person named Dustin Cole got it before I did. So it's Dustin Cole without the I. Follow me there.
Okay, there you go.
And I post all my dates on social media. So come on out.
Awesome. Awesome. Thank you again. A round of applause for coming on. Crowd up in it. Guys, next week we do have Job Blaze from the Cloud Chronicles podcast. It's always a tongue twister to get that out. The Cloud Chronicles podcast coming out next week to come and hang out with me. So tune in next week, and that's it. We see you guys.
Right on, man.